Welcome to SuperLife with me, Darin, a podcast where we explore, discover, and share solutions that promote a healthier life and a better world. Together, we'll ignite possibilities, inspire change, and build sovereignty, creating a roadmap towards a super life for you and for all. Get ready to start living your super life. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is SuperLife. I'm grateful to have you. This is a solo episode. Stoked that SuperLife is leading the charge. It feels different. SuperLife with Darin now takes on a greater vision that has really always been fueling everything of mine. Now I get to put it in a context and share that with you in a way that can hopefully benefit you more and more as you live your life, as you navigate this life. From the practical to the big, I like jumping back and forth. How does this all make sense? How does this help us move forward in our life? Perspective is everything. So, in today's episode, the special episode of SuperLife solo podcast, I'm going to dive into SuperLife Super World, and I'm going to talk about what if climate change is PR, its public relations was wrong. That's right. I am going to talk about climate change, but hear me out. It's going to be absolutely different than what you've heard, than all these other people have talking about in a certain way. I'm going to ground it because that's how it makes sense to me. I'm the small town kid from Minnesota. And if it doesn't make sense to me, I know it doesn't make sense to majority of us. So what if climate change's PR was wrong? Isn't it really about climate pollution? So let me explain. Climate change has become a political buzzword, this hot potato with this tons of debate on whether it's true or not true. And I am not the expert to necessarily tell you all of the ways of these high-level elites and government officials and scientists, even though I've talked to many of them, and they can absolutely tell me from their point of view what's going on, and that could be true. A lot of it can be true. And a lot of it can be questionable based on political nonsense. So I want to face this a little differently, because the climate change narrative sucks. Whoever devised that, I had a great conversation with Naomi Orsekas, who took her own team. If you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to that podcast, because she found through her research and her research team, all of the data from their perspective showed that, yeah, we're having effect on the environment, right? And that she found 4 compromised scientists that were funded to mess up the narrative. Maybe that was ground zero to messing up how we're talking about this stuff, and then it's all politicized. The political left has an agenda with climate change. The political right has a denying aspect to climate change. I'm finding something right in the middle that I can almost guarantee none of you are going to blow off. It's going to make sense to you by the end of this episode. Okay? Absolutely. You will not be confused. Because this is how my brain works. And this is how I'm looking at it. Because I want to be able to make sense so that I can do something about it. So So what if we stripped all this away? What if we made it more simple? What if instead of this nebulous concept of climate change, we focused on some of the realities, the heart of the problem, the man-made aspect of the problem, more accurately, corporate-made massive pollution. Okay? So I've talked about this in Fatal Conveniences. So many of these products are polluting you, your ecosystem. Well, the mere creation of those chemicals that they've recreated and put in your deodorants, your shampoos, your conditioners, your beauty products, your lotions, your clothing, those are destructive by the mere manufacturing of them to the environment. And I'm going to get into this more. This will make absolute sense to you. So the truth is, we are causing changes to our planet, but the story is far more nuanced and in many ways more actionable than these people blabbering that are also full of hypocrisy. It's not lost on me. I'm with you. These freaking government officials and maybe funded corporate cronies messing up the denying everything. It's ridiculous. Maybe they're denying certain aspects of it, which is why the PR, the public relations campaign of climate change sucks. It's wrong. It's got it wrong. Let me give you a couple examples that I know a lot about because I've interviewed a few people here. So let's consider the case of PFAS. Okay, you've heard me talk about this. So just to clear it up, PFAS was developed originally in the 50s and 60s, maybe even back in the 40s during the World War II by DuPont. In the 60s, essentially, 3M Corporation took this on because what is PFAS? It's a perfluoroalkyl substance. It's fluorine gas slammed together with a bunch of carbon molecules, which makes a gnarly compound, which, by the way, for decades and decades, they're saying it's safe. Okay, so keep that in mind. Decades, and decades, they're saying it was safe. 3M took this really in the 60s and they made a bunch of compounds that were miraculous. And you all know the first one that you're made aware of is nonstick pans. That is the brilliance of PFAS. It's really good at its job. And I'm making a point here. So PFAS, because it's heat resistant, stain resistant, it's nonstick. Think about that now. That was one of the first. But now it's in our clothing, stain resistant, wrinkle resistant. It's in food packaging, almost all food packaging. Fast food wrappers, all of this stuff, grease resistant, stain resistant, doesn't stick to it. Fire retardants, which are all over the place. Clothing, like I said. The list goes baby bibs, dental floss, PFAS. Clothing like crazy. It's just everywhere. And it's been decades and decades. So now what 3M did in my interview with Chris Hansen, which is coming out, or by the time you're listening to this, it's already out. We discovered that it's in. So again, in the context of quote unquote climate change, Chris Hansen in the 90s discovered that PFAS is in the blood of every human, or at least 99% of everyone on the planet. She couldn't find a clean sample in the world. She had to go back in the archives of blood samples before the creation of it in the 50s. to have a control that didn't have PFAS in it. So my point is PFAS itself, and all fish, birds, you name it, it's in our environment. So from a microclimate perspective, it's everywhere. It's in our environment. It's in our body's environment. It's in the greater environment. It's in the water. It's in the air. It's hydrophilic. It's hydrophobic. It's everywhere. And they found out now, decades and decades later, because people finally started doing safety studies, it's massively carcinogenic, metabolic destructive, endocrine disrupting, connected to all sorts of human, animal, and environmental destruction. It's a forever chemical. So we created climate change there. That's my point. We created change. You can't dispute it. Man-made, corporate-made chemicals. This is just one classification. PFAS, there's about 15,000, but you could say the same for phthalates and plastics and plasticizers and hormone disruptors and chemical, you name it. You know, plastic's another perfect example. We've changed the environment, but the problem is with climate change, it's saying it's, you know, they're using CO2 as the juggernaut of the biggest part of climate change, which is creating this global warming. And again, I'm not the science expert on that. Many people, many of what I've talked about that are not compromised say that that is true. Okay, let's say it's true. What are we supposed to do about it? Again, you have these elites just saying, you know, drive a electric car. Also doesn't make sense because the mining of that and the unsustainable aspect of where's the energy that's filling up those batteries anyway? Where's that coming from? We're just compromised upside down and sideways, for example. Let me give you another example. Texaco, which is now owned by Chevron. Over 30 years ago, it went to the Ecuadorian Amazon to extract oil. It blew off all safety measures that it would do in other first world countries. It had pits that weren't lined with not, you know, seepage sacks, so it seeped directly into the ground. They discharged the water with full of chemicals from the extraction process and went right into the river directly, knowingly. And that's downstream from people who have been living in the Amazon for the entire existence of their indigenous communities. Now they have multi-generational disorders as a direct result. So it created change in the Amazon in a big way. This is just one example. Did it create climate change? Yep, it did for them. Yeah, it did. Man-made climate change right there. Horrible pollution. So pollution, change was from pollution. The change is doing things that are harmful to the environment. And that environment is literal on the ground, in the air, in the water environment, as well as the environment, your planet, your ecosystem, your body. So that decision is detrimental for the Amazon itself and the people and their bodies and their DNA and their generations and their children. So that was man-made change, pollution. There are millions of examples. Fluoride. Fluoride comes from two places, the aluminum industry and a derivative of the pesticide herbicide industry. So they take the extra fluoride and drive it into many municipalities in the United States saying that it's good for our teeth when it's a neurotoxin and detrimental. So again, man-made, created change. And it first affects our system. We are nature. The point of this is there is micro climate changes that are detrimental to the air, water, food systems, people, insects, birds, animals. And then we keep doing it and doing it and doing it from a corporate perspective, supported by the government with tons of loopholes, paid off, profits over the power, profits and power over the safety of people and the environment. That's having change. Spewing pollution in the world is causing changes in our bodies and the globes. That's, from my perspective, climate change. But it's pollution. People can understand. Can you understand? We are polluting ourselves, which is causing a massive amount of changes. The industrial agricultural system, it's so polluting. Methane, of course, CO2, of course, the way we're agriculture, it's massively polluting. The side pollution is the release of all of this CO2, but there is handfuls of other destructive mechanisms that are destroying many other things. It's pollution. It's the systems that are divorced of nature and of principles and of ethics and of morals and no regard for human, animal, insect, air, and water life. So what if we reframe this whole damn conversation? What if instead of debating abstract global phenomenon that is so ungrounded that you can flippantly just say whatever you want about it, we focused on tangible local impact and corporate pollution? What if we held companies actually accountable for direct harm they cause on the environments and our health, and water, power, food, shelter, all of it, products, fatal conveniences? And this isn't to say that the way people are talking about global warming, we are changing the environment, period. Micro changes everywhere because of industry, because of the way things are created, because of unregulated impact. Go to communities in India and Africa and the Amazon, discharges in the ocean down the street from me. We are changing the environment through our pollution and not holding people accountable. It's time to cut through this PR spin and focus on real issues at hand that you and I can do something about. Our planet is changing at our hand. It is. But it's just different. We've lost the understanding that it is from a textile company making your blue jeans, the thousands of chemicals needed to use and the petrochemicals to grow the GMO cotton and the bleaching agents and the azo dyes and the formaldehyde so that you can have stretchy jeans. And that's discharged from the manufacturer into the water. Just go look. Now, if you zero in on that river and that environment around it and the animals and insects and people that live around that, has it changed the climate there? Yes. You're starting to get it. You're starting to understand. You can understand when pollution, you're staring at pollution going into a pristine, which was once a pristine river, has detrimental effect on the environment and all literal downstream effects. This became so clear to me in my book, Fatal Conveniences. I explored products that were hurting you. I see us as little planets, right? We have the same stuff. minerals, water, chemicals that are keeping us healthy, doing everything I can to keep balance and homeostasis. But when we're chemicalized in all of our cleaning products and personal care products that have all kinds of unregulated compounds and endocrine disruptors and carcinogenic, our mini ecosystem, our bodies, our mini planets are changing. If you are constantly eating ultra processed food that is unregulated, and the pesticides and herbicides that act as antibiotics destroy your ecosystem of your microflora, you are altering that platform that allows you to upregulate food. So allergies and other issues, autoimmune, dysbiosis of your own precious ecosystem gets thrown off. Your environment changes. That is at the hand of our man-made choices. That's why I'm so passionate about you facing these challenges so that you can change your habits to do your very best to stay away from these choices that are affecting your world, your body, your life, your energy, your ecosystem. You can change the water that's coming into your body. Just like we can change the water in our rivers when we regulate truly corporations doing better at not using harsh chemicals. It's all the same thing. Filter your water, first osmosis to get rid of fluorides and pharmaceuticals and PFAS. Clean up the water that you ingest to then rebuild your own ecosystems. Organic, locally sourced food rather than manufactured, crappy, horrible food that's destroying your ecosystem. When you improve that through those choices, you are then voting with those dollars to say, I am not going to buy the toxic, loaded products coming from corporations that are also polluting our planet, changing those ecosystems. You feel me? You understand what I'm saying? So you have massive choices. You can improve personal care products. You can improve your food choices. You can improve clothing instead of fast fashion, polluting plastics and petroleum clothes that you are wearing. You can start changing those out. Change your underwear first. Get that plastic off of your genitalia. Clean up. It's going in your body. Clean up your home with clean, truly clean products that you can DIY yourself. There's tons that you can do. This has a ripple effect in your body, in your energy, in your mood, in your home, in your pets, in your family. This approach of quote unquote climate change is a pollution revolution. We're getting rid of pollution coming in and around your body, and also creating campaigns for corporations to clean up the pollution that they're creating horrible products that are also polluting the planet. Refocus. Corporations and governments still have a strong role, but you can change through your personal choices individually, which have planetary health implications if we all start doing this. We fight against environmental degradation by first focusing on not destroying us. Stop with the chemicalized fragrances on your body. Reduce this exposure, and then we have more energy to fight and change these things. Prioritizing our health, prioritizing our planetary health. focusing on our local environment, our homes, ourselves, our communities, our schools, our churches, our cities, our regions, our states, our countries. Every decision you make in what you eat, in what you wear, in what you clean your home with changes the environment. You get me? You change the climate around you. Your personal climate, you can change. Clean up the pollution. So the next time you hear about quote unquote climate change, don't think about it in some far off, immeasurable, insurmountable problem. Think of it as something you have the power to influence every single day, every single choice. Your body is your first environment. Your home is your first ecosystem. By making choices that protect and nurture these, your contribution to the health of our larger world takes root. Remember, global change has to start with your personal changes. If you don't clean up your world right here, you don't have a chance doing much of anything else. You have more power than you realize. Use it wisely. Use it daily. Make those choices. Watch your choices ripple out to create a healthier you and a more sustainable world as it extends beyond you, your home, your community, and the world. And then all of us choosing better products, holding corporations accountable for the pollution that, yes, is affecting the world, creating changes in our climate. Stop. And for all of you politicians and corporate cronies, stop distracting this so that you don't have to take accountability. I and the SuperLife team, that means you, all hearing this now, we are holding you accountable, but we're no longer going to be a victim to you because we're making choices that are beyond you because now we're aware. Now we know we have choices beyond what we were just given by you. Okay, everybody, that is a stab. It gives you a little glimpse as to how I view this climate change thing and the things that we can do. That doesn't mean that there's not other corporation, there doesn't mean that there's not other groups, other initiatives that I haven't mentioned here that aren't powerful, that are also doing incredible things. This was just an aspect of what I wanted to share with you because it's a way that you can understand that you have tremendous power over the choices you're making around your own system. And when you make those choices, it has a ripple effect. Let's make those choices better and better every day in every way so that we all have the super life that we know is possible. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, share. Remember, I love you.